see what I see?
I see a beautiful hamburger.
I bet it's a clue.
Yeah, I bet.
We'd better memorize it.
I don't think we'll have to memorize it. The hamburger's winning.
Boy, my mouth's watering. Let's go.
Come on, boys and gals. Let's have a barbecue.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday!
Wacky fun.
All right.
All right.
Who did not see
Everybody?
that?
I love doing that.
Great intro.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here
I
we go.
worked on that one.
Here we go.
All right, everyone. You know what to do. Ring the like, hit the subscribe. Wait, it's the other way around. I love getting that backwards.
Oh, you're talking to the fans. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Or you can, I guess. Anyone can. It's a free country.
Oh, that's true. Granted.
How y'all doing?
Doing pretty good.
I don't have to work tonight, so I am peachy.
You're
That's
awake
a beautiful
today.
thing.
Yeah. I've been actually able to sleep for 3 nights in a row, so yeah, I'm actually feeling human again. I can like recall names. I can, function as a living, breathing soul. Of course, tomorrow night I go back to work, so it is what it is.
Well, glad you could join us.
Absolutely. So where is Mr. Luke Stone? Is he playing hooky again?
I don't know. I guess he's playing hooky, He's just,
slacker.
Huck Finn.
Such
Is he
a
the one who
slacker.
invented hooky?
I'm serious.
Welcome, Creators Outlet.
I mean, all he's doing is
Free-ish.
propping up all of the independent comics. I mean, what? God's such a lazy guy. I swear.
Yeah, he's kind of busy. Maybe he wants to take a Sabbath day every now and then, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, come on now.
The Westminster
Work ethic.
Confession defines work as like regular duties, and since I don't make profit, this is technically not good for me. So
Work ethic, man. There's work ethic, though.
yeah,
Come on. Luke, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah, we love you, Luke.
It's like him and Todd. I mean, Todd, his partner. Nobody ever sees him because he's raising his kids. He's like, running a business, running his wife's business. Plus, he's propping up a ministry that he just started. So,
Yeah,
what are you going to say? You need to be more involved, Todd.
right.
Yeah, busyness is next to godliness, right? So,
Yeah. That's what do they say? Idle hands is the devil's workshop. Devil ain't have no workshop for those guys. He ain't got no
Yeah.
workshop
Man.
for those guys.
I
Gotta
have never
enjoy
seen
the
a
little
busier
things,
guy.
though. I've been reading Ecclesiastes. It's a lot about enjoying the little things in there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just
For everything, turn. There is a season.
yeah, not an easy read, but it's a good read.
I know. Ecclesiastes is hardcore, man.
It is.
That's Solomon towards the end of his life when he had no softness left in him,
Right. Wasn't holding back.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like you look at Song of Solomon, that's early in his life when he was kind of a romantic, still had kind of some young man in him.
Mhm.
And, but then you look at Ecclesiastes, like the bookends, right? And the book in Ecclesiastes is just like they call it the preacher, or in other words, the judge.
Yeah.
and and so he's just like laying it down. He's like, it's all vanity, all of it's crap, you know.
Right.
Every single bit of it is crap, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for uplifting scripture there, sir. You
Right.
know?
But I think it's got a good takeaway of, you know, you work for material stuff, and if you make, it would be foolish to make your life all about that, because you can't take any of that with you.
Well, they said gold is as plentiful as the bricks in Jerusalem during his reign.
Now that's some inflation, if I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I'm serious. It's like, oh, we got some problem with the treasury. Just go out and like pry a brick up, you know. It is what it is. But yeah, he's wealthiest man in the world, wisest man in the world, and he still had like 900 and something wives.
Yeah.
So, which
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
bright. Wasn't bright, to be honest. So.
Lots of gold is still better than printing lots of money.
That is
Right.
not a joke. That is a natural fact.
Oh, you stole that one from Luke, yeah.
No, I gave that one to Luke, actually.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
Luke stole it from you. Oh,
I'm Luke's
okay.
editor, I guess.
Oh, well.
No, he didn't steal it. He asked for it. It was a
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I was part of that. I was part of that network at one point, and I stole stuff from everybody else in it all the time.
gift. Yeah, I love editing down things. I just don't have the time to edit videos
Right.
like I should. I still make sliders from this thing. I like doing that.
Well, I started making shorts, and it's like really. I went up 14 in 1 week.
Mhm.
14 subs in 1 week. So.
Yeah.
That's something about making shorts for your channel. It's like YouTube is like, oh, you're following our algorithm. Here, boost.
Yeah,
we're
I
going to give
find
you the
the,
numbers that you should have, the numbers that you deserve, the numbers that we're not suppressing. You know.
Right. Yeah, I find the 10 minute-ish videos get a lot more views than the live
Yeah.
streams, or at least as many. Like when I
Yeah,
spend
that's what
time
they're pushing,
editing
yeah.
down one and like doing the little video essay thing, I call it
Yeah.
Superpower Story Hour when I do it. I only have a few of those out, but my last one got a lot of views, a lot more than the live streams or sliders normally get. And the sliders normally get as many views as the live stream. So
Yeah. Just if you have channel content, go to the bottom, and it's like a remix button or a shorts button, and just remix your live streams down to like at least a minute, and just like release them. You can do that once a day or something like that, and it's helped me tremendously,
yeah, it's definitely a big help. The trouble is just finding the time to do all that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's something you could do from work. I do it at work all the time, on my lunch hour or something.
I can't do it where I work. You ever seen the movie The Lincoln Lawyer?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's been my week. I've been on the road working because I've been training new EMTs. So I've been on the road all day, just training these guys how to drive and showing them the area and all that kind of stuff. The basics. Right. These guys are kids, they're entry level. I got one guy, because civilian and EMT or civilian and military certifications don't transfer the same. So this guy he just turned 19 and he's already a paramedic in the Army, but in civilian life he's an EMT and like he has zero experience.
Right.
So still
it's a different animal. It's a totally different animal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with domestics when you in the Army,
Yeah.
Because everybody you treat in the Army is that legitimately needs treatment,
Yeah, for obvious reasons, they're more trauma focused in the Army. Whereas the medical stuff, there's still a lot for us to learn. But he's young, he's going to get the experience.
Oh yeah, very short time.
Yeah,
very short time.
Yeah. My first partner at my first service I worked at was also a paramedic in the military, and we had the same last name. I'm going to dox myself. I don't want to give it away. Anyway, it was like a movie, and a fairly popular movie, and our supervisor used to make fun of that all the time.
So like the comedy of errors from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's interesting. Around here we have what's called volunteer firemen, and they're like
I used to volunteer for many years.
Well, around here we got a bunch of eager beavers, people that like take that and put lights on their car, and they're not really there to help.
You
They're
live out
there
in the
for
sticks, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But they're not really there. A lot of them are not there to help. A lot of them are just there for there's the glory to it, right? There's kind of like, I got this radio on my arm,
We're all adrenaline junkies.
Exactly.
You're a career volunteer.
But the very first that they could always tell when they hit like a really bad wreck or something like that, because they lose half of those guys. Because half of those guys weren't. It's like, I didn't sign up for this. It's like, yes, you did. This is what you signed up for. It's like when they hit that reality, it's like, okay.
Yeah, my wife and I are actually very involved in the mental health aspect of the job. Doing peer support.
Right.
That's good. There's a lot
Sounds
of
wonderful.
in that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, I mean, it's mentally the grueling. I mean, you literally have to partition off parts of your brain to do it.
Oh, you do. You gotta be good at compartmentalization.
You got to compartmental off that place that once it go.
Yeah.
Partition that off.
This is why we make so many dark jokes, though. The whole dark humor thing's real, and this is why political correctness is just not really a thing in our world.
Right.
You've seen, like, we played the clip from the show Rescue Me last time.
Yeah.
Like, that's what real firefighters are like. And you watch these shows now, and it's just not how it is at all.
Well, exactly. A few years ago, there was actually like a fireman who saved, I think it was like a family of Hispanics, and he voted for Trump, and they were like shocked or something.
Most firefighters voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
actually,
they turned on him like midstream.
Yeah. Well, Jon Stewart talked about that because he's been working with firefighters since 9/11, trying to help them raise money for their cancer treatments.
Yeah.
And he outright said, like, most of these guys voted for Trump, and there's like my buddies, so he gets it. Like, he understands there's just a whole other side to things that celebrities generally don't understand.
Yeah, but they got to him because, like within a couple of years, he's putting up that Apple TV thing, and he's just like TDS all the way to the wall, So
yeah, well, you gotta sell out to be successful in the mainstream.
I was gonna say, I'm sure the paycheck has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Although, did you guys see that they made that like Strike Force 5 podcast?
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was so awful.
And I feel bad because all I can think of is like, somebody said the other day is like, you don't miss this thing, you just miss the 90s. And my kids and I actually watched Independence Day yesterday, so it was like, yeah, you know what? It's a fair statement.
Well, the thing about it though is, you see new people that don't have any knowledge of the 90s watching some of the stuff that we thought were awesome, and they think it's awesome. That's why the reaction channels are so awesome. You get to see people from like different walks of life, like if black people discovering metal or something like that, and they're like, oh man, this is awesome. And you're like, it's like, well, this is your birthright. You created this stuff, man. Welcome back. It's like all I follow is hip. What's that?
The only thing I could think of with that is like in the Spice Girls movie, because I was a Spice Girl fan in the 90s. They actually were, they in their movie Spice World, and I remember this because I watched this movie like 40 million times as a third grader. They actually their two producers were trying to pitch the idea for a Spice Girls movie, and one of them was called Spice Force 5. And
oh no.
When they did that, I'm like, yes. Somebody needs to parody this. I can't be the only person that remembers this. And I've just been disappointed.
Well, I think it's going to be really sad when people realize it's like, so if they were ever funny, it was because they had writers. Because these guys writing their own material. Stephen Colbert is the least funniest person that's ever walked on the face of the planet, but he can deliver lines that are handed to him. And otherwise he's just a political shill. He's got charisma and he's got some acting ability, but he is not funny. He never has been.
Yeah, it's the team that makes these guys great, and
they're about to reveal it. I mean, they're about to expose that, Yeah,
I think it kind of got exposed during the COVID lockdowns.
Yeah, that's true.
This is
true.
like
Stephen Colbert has a lot of skeletons in his closet, though. I actually had to do a book report on a humor book, and that was the year his "I Am America" and "So Can You" book came out, and I actually did my report on it. There's a ton of race stuff in there that would get him canceled easily today. So I have a feeling he has good reason to toe the line, so nobody picks that book up and is like, hey, you remember this? And even if he didn't write it himself, his face is like right on the cover. So it's like,
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was amusing that that all these guys just suddenly said, "Okay, we don't care if half of America watches us. You know, we're totally okay with half of America not watching us. We're just going to be political all the way to the wall and just alienate all that part because they're not." And then it's like, you know who watches your shows? Are you aware of your demographics? You know, do you not know the age range of your demographic? And oh, by the way, most of those are conservatives. You know, and then they wonder why they're all every single across the board the ratings tanked, and they're just mystified by this. It's like, well, because not everybody lives in L.A. and in New York, my friend.
Right.
You know? And oh, by the way, people who live in New York and L.A. aren't watching. You know, they're not watching television. So. Yeah, so what are you going to do then, man?
Welcome, File 13, and no, this is not Strike Force 5.
It is not. It's not even Strike Force 4. So. What's up, File 13? What's up, man?
We are quite the opposite of Strike Force 5.
We are definitely that.
We're all competent writers.
Yeah.
Oh!
I don't think any of them would title the show "Go Outside, Touch Grass." That would be more like.
But, yeah.
I think a title of their show would be like "Lock Down, Wear a Mask by Yourself in a Closet."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like when Bill Maher was doing like the shows from like his living room when he didn't have like writers or anything. He got handled by every time he had a conservative on and he tried to go at him. He got handled like brutally. And it's like, oh, so, you know, that just kind of revealed that, you know, he's a straw man, too.
Well,
you know?
We didn't have his crowd of barking seals to back him up.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like he doesn't have that, you know.
I would have called it Diversity Squad. So
diversity? No, I don't think we're that.
Strike Force 5?
No, I would have like leaned into it, you know, like they're all 5 older white men who are obviously privileged. I would have been like, we're the Diversity Squad, here to tell you how to, you know, how to think. So
yeah, let's should have leaned into it and called themselves the 5 out of touch millionaires.
Even that sounds more amusing though.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
that would have worked. That would have been self-deprecating, and people would have been all right with it.
Well, I mean,
you know?
Isn't that kind of like the appeal of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I love shows where Hollywood actually makes fun of itself.
Exactly. Well, if they did that and they like wink, nudge at the camera that we know we're awful, then that might actually endear people. But these guys are too arrogant for that, right?
Yeah.
And besides, they think they're cool. They honestly think they're cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing is they actually think that they're the cool kids.
What's up, my fellow kids?
I had children. I had children, so I know I'm not cool. But it's funny to me because this week my kids started copying me in a couple of things, and I'm just laughing. Mommy's so embarrassing in public, but there you go. I will say right now they're watching Spider-Man 2. So good taste in movies.
Raise them right.
That is excellent taste in movies.
That is excellent taste. Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking about it this week because so many people have said since Blue Beetle flopped that superhero fatigue is real. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I think they just want deeper stories than origin story after origin story. Well, like I know my comic is an origin story, but like the second one actually has like more into it and
calling Batman a fascist as if that's some kind of draw to the film doesn't help. Claiming you're Latino because you got a Latino face.
Right, exactly.
And for doing Latino stereotypes.
It's the strangest Latino stereotypes too, because being Latino myself, You're
Latina?
Latino. Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Yes, I am Latino and not Latina.
Uh,
But yeah, most of the stereotypes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right.
those stereotypes, some of them are there. I've in my entire life, every single stereotype I've witnessed it in my own family. But growing up, personally, I never really experienced it deeply, mainly because my grandmother, even though she was raised in a deeply Hispanic family, she always said that you adapt to the area eventually where you live. It's like you don't. It's like you don't. And my area is predominantly white, so it's kind of a neutral ground there. There are some Hispanic people in the street. In fact, she's friends with one Hispanic family straight from Mexico, but they only speak Spanish. But even they adapted, and they're very much kind of a neutral ground people. Like they don't have all the stereotypes. They're pretty wealthy, really well off, and they are generally just good people. And it's, the way they depict it in the movies was just, it was hilarious, but pointless. It had no depth to it, and their family values were kind of just meh. It just did not mesh well.
My family is a big mix, as many are in America, and some of my relatives came over from Mexico, and they're traditional Catholics, so they had a lot more kids than most white Americans. So get-togethers, but like traditional Catholic Mexicans, they're very Catholic, and Hollywood would be afraid to show us as we are. Most Mexican families I've met are the same way. But Hollywood's too afraid of that.
Yeah, the Friday Night Tights people got in a lot of deep trouble because they did this joke where it said, "Let's taco about Blue Beetle," and then they proceeded to point out all the problems with the movie. The fact that they took this, it was like white people's wrote this movie for Latinos, and it was like and then they asked these Latino actors to act like what they assumed that Mexicans would act like, Mexican Americans would act like. And so they were all obnoxious. They were talking about tacos and salsa and all the time. And they didn't, they
there is some
like
truth
over the
to
top.
that.
And there's some they were over the top in public. And it's like way that, because it's like they took their dignity away from them, basically. And then they had this guy like walk into a receptionist. The receptionist like, "Oh, you need to deliver it out," and he's wearing a suit. And all Chrissy Mayer said was like, that would never happen. If you are a receptionist, and I've been a receptionist for like over 10 years, I would tell if I were to treat somebody like that, I would lose my job. And he's like, that would never happen, especially in where they are. And so and all these people, these like Mexican TikTok, they call themselves Mexican TikTok, went after him like solidly. But it's like they were like defending you guys and saying this is offensive to us because we know you people that this community isn't this obnoxious and overbearing, and the way they're portrayed is inherently like offensive, and yet they went after them for clout, basically what they went after them for. You white people aren't allowed to talk about our culture like that. And it's like well, Gary Neurotic lived in California, Southern California, so he's eyeball level with that. Quarter Black Garrett, one of the quarters happens to be Hispanic, and and all of them have lived in these city enclaves, and some of them in Texas and some of them in California. So they are eye level with these cultures, and they know what they look like, And
have you ever seen how other nations portray Americans in film?
Yes.
So
I've seen how Japan portrays us. It's hilarious, and I love it.
Well, like there are some like almost like running gags about American stereotypes and stuff, and it's depending on which like where you go, I guess, to get your movies and stuff. So, but like I read somewhere once that one of the popular things is like our red cups, like like the red disposable cups are like, yeah, that's American.
Red Solo cups. Yeah.
Yes. So it's like you can get ridiculous, no matter. I mean, like it's not like. So, but if you write a movie for another culture, you're trying. I assume these people were trying to empathize with the Latino culture. I guess they were probably writing stuff that's like 10, 20 years out of date, just because the stereotypes have like changed. I mean, stereotypes do evolve over time. I mean, usually. Bad women drivers is still valid though. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, there's certain things that do. There are certain things that are, stereotypes are real and they do exist.
Yeah.
But that's not. But people aren't stereotypes. And when you see a character that is basically somebody like embodying a stereotype, then you know that it's lazy writing. It's just lazy writing. Oh, let's have them talk about tacos. Oh, let's have them talk about salsa. It's like, what did you have the munchies when you wrote the script?
Yeah, the stereotype is actually true though. We do generally complain that we're lazy. But no, you're right, Bunny. And we've talked about this before. Like superficial people write superficial characters. So if you see other groups as just what they eat and what they wear and their music. You're not going to have a deep view of them. If you did have a deep view, you'd write people with certain values, because you want to portray the Latin world accurately. Show their Catholic values, because that's baked into their culture, and that's generally the way they think and feel. Even if they're not practicing, they've at least grown up around those ideas. But I think they're just too lazy to do that. They don't even think that way, and even if they did. It's
kind of funny, actually. It's funny, actually. I was talking about this with my brother yesterday. He's playing DCO right now, and but for the last few days he's been playing, and he runs across Bane recently. Bane just shouts, "Madre de Dios," and I'm like, that was the best reaction. A great depict that had more connection to the Mexican, stereotype. The Catholic stereotype, and I've met people who are in my my family, not just my family, but in other churches, who have either been Catholic or converted at some point, or are currently Catholic, and they sometimes will say things just like that, but the stereotype works for the character in the game. It fits, because it's not like it's his whole personality.
Right,
it's a line. Is perfect, well placed.
Well, somebody pointed this out, that in Blue Beetle they basically took the Catholicism out of the family and made the family the faith. And they've done it. They did this in Encanto, and and they did it in Coco also. Where Coco had more Catholicism in it than the other two. But they basically made the family like the where the faith is, and that basically takes the heart and soul out of the Mexican culture, which is really
does.
The family exists because of the faith, not the other way around.
Exactly. And they missed that. They missed the heart of the whole thing, But see, we know that because we know Mexican Americans, and we know we've been around them, we interact with them, and we are friends with them. So we're out. They're in those enclaves where they're just around each other, and so. If you go to Burbank in California, not Berkeley in California, that somebody did this. They did the street team and asked about black people and like voter IDs. Why can't is our voter IDs racist? And they're like, oh yes, they're very racist. And so why? Because black people can't use the internet. They can't find the DMV. And
I know there's racist assumptions behind all that.
Oh, exactly. And then they go to Harlem, and they basically say, so can you find the DMV? Oh yeah, it's down there on the street. It's like, can you use the internet? Oh yeah, I use my phone as a hotspot.
And then you tell them like people are against voter ID laws in white areas, and they're like, do you all think I'm an idiot?
Exactly. And it's like they honestly do think you're that. helpless, and it's just because white people are only around other liberal white people, and they just like make assumptions about these people, and like they have these white savior, like the sense of their own importance, and we're out among these other races and these other cultures, and we see at eyeball level, and so when they try to write it and they write it wrong, we know. And that's what happened with Blue Beetle. Is people watch that movie, or they even see the trailers, and they're like, that's not right.
Maybe that's how it is in California or something. I mean,
maybe it is. I don't
honestly know. Like, I'm from there. It's honestly not. It's just people who are in their certain elitist bubble have to they're just trained to think a certain way, but then you go out on the street and people just interact and they don't care about the same things.
And it's really odd, mostly.
Yeah,
it's a strange thing because of the fact that, like I said, I've been around the block and literally, and one of the most unrealistic parts about that movie was the ending. The ending of it, and it's the fact that at a funeral there was no barbacoa. I mean,
really?
It's like every single family member every single funeral I've ever been to, a Mexican funeral, at the end, the reception, or at the just the end, there's always a party.
Yeah.
There's always barbacoa. There's some mariachi, uncle, cousin, friend, neighbor, some person. There's always something, and I just couldn't grasp how they failed that so badly.
See, like we have an equivalent with my family. So my family has a mix of Western and Eastern Europe, kind of like mutts, and it's called the feed. That's what we call it, the feed, after the funeral.
Yeah. So. Well, it's that's the thing that when you read comics or you read or watch movies or watch television shows, and you can tell that the person who wrote it is even if they're writing a minority character or a marginalized group of people, you can tell that they've never actually talked to one.
And it's obvious.
Short of calling them into their office and saying, "Can I have a 5-minute conversation with you?"
Exactly. And
I need an interpreter.
And it's like, well, I can write about them because I'm defending them, or I'm standing up for their rights, And the thing about it is, if they were to ask this person, I want to race swap this iconic character, to represent you better, they would say no.
Right.
Create an entirely different character. I don't want you to take that away from somebody else. But they don't ask that, and then they wonder why these cultures are like, well, I don't want that either,
It's kind of like when they created those characters. Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, as when Marvel created those characters, Safe Space and Snowflake, and they created them because it was their finally brand new characters for Marvel, and then they were all wondering, why does no one like these characters? It's like on both sides actually. On both sides, you had the leftists all saying, it was like, it's insulting us, and so now it's an insult finally. And then you have the other ones, the right wingers, are tearing into them, saying, mostly they're just saying it's funny, but they tear them saying, you finally create new characters and it's this nonsense. It's like I kind of want to see how it plays out there, and then they just cancel it, or it's been on hiatus for so long at this point that I don't think they're ever going to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you see the guy who created it was a little human Pez dispenser, the little liberal Pez dispenser.
Daniel Kibblesmith?
Daniel Kibblesmith, yeah. That's who it was.
His name makes me think of cat food because it's like, what is it? It's Kitten Caboodle. It's Kibble.
He mentioned that he was intimidated by Night Thrasher when he was growing up. He's like, it's kind of scary to me. And they want that guy to write the New Warriors,
For what it's worth, I probably shouldn't talk about last names because I've had people tease me about, Johnson type jokes before. Yep. So yeah, I saw his interview that he did where he's talking about him, and I'm like, I don't know. At that point, that was one of those moments where it's like, I can write better than this guy, for sure.
But you know what the next thing that they put him on was? Blade.
Oh yeah, Disney's gonna make a great Blade movie.
If you think Ninth Racer is scary, and it's
crap,
like
yeah.
Blade is
You seen
like,
that movie?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, you're
Blade,
intimidated
though.
by Ninth Racer. Blade is gonna terrify you and make you curl into a little ball and wet yourself.
The thing is that
maybe he'll make it into a musical. That would be fun.
Right? Probably.
Blade, the bloody ballet.
That wouldn't surprise me. No, the thing I like about Blade, because I generally don't like horror movies or vampire movies, but I like Blade because it feels like an action movie.
Yeah.
And he's just a cool character. He's like Batman if Batman fought vampires and didn't wear a mask.
That's a good way to say it.
Well, I think the reason why people like Blade is uniquely black. As he's a uniquely black character, and he was created out of that culture, and Wesley Snipes just embodied that, right? And he was created out of the blaxploitation, kind of push in the 70s.
I never made that connection. Like, to me, he's just a cool action character who happens to be black.
Exactly. But the thing about it is like he inhabited that space, and it was like you look at it, it's authentic. You can tell it's authentic, right?
Well, it's because they're not trying too hard. They're like, Wesley Snipes is a great actor. Go be in this action movie.
But then he has Whistler, and Whistler's his best buddy and his father figure, and that guy's a white guy, and it's like the play between them was just great. And it's like, that's what we want. We want characters, man. We want people interacting naturally like that.
Yeah.
And I stop in every minute and going, oh, your color is this and my color is this. This is the way we should interact. People don't.
The only time real friends ever interact that way is when they're making fun of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like a fun make fun of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like women saying that you need to diet or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's like when a black friend and a white friend sit down and play chess, and it's like, well, who should get what pieces? Well, you get the black ones because you're black, and I get the white ones because I'm white. Yes, I've had that happen.
And oh, by the way, the last time I played chess was with the black man, and he kicked my butt. So
that's a stereotype. They're good at it.
Yeah, they are.
The park, man.
They play in the park, man.
See a lot of old black guys playing.
Yep.
I used to work in Inglewood, California, and that's another real stereotype.
Well,
which is like a good one to have. Like, that's like being good at math,
Oh yeah. It's like you ever see that movie Finding Forrester? That movie's kind of been buried. It's a great movie, and it's kind of been buried. It's Sean Connery's last on-screen role, and nobody hardly knows what that movie is because it's such a reconciliation of not only cultures but races, but also generations, and it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. And
he's a great role model in that movie.
Yeah, it's about a racist. It's about racist liberals who think this black guy can't possibly have written anything of consequence, and when he turns his paper in, they automatically go to the place of this must be plagiarism.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of like Good Will Hunting, but better.
Exactly, but they brought him in to play basketball, so they'd expect a kid to be intelligent, right?
Right.
And so it really makes the liberal establishment look bad. That's why they don't like that movie. But because he borrowed off of that, Forrester's a paper that he'd written, he borrowed off of that to write his book, his story. They accused him of plagiarism, and then Forrester comes in and says it's not plagiarism. I know what I wrote, and that kid's the real deal. But it was Sean Connery's last on-screen role, and nobody talks about it. But he should have got.
He did other stuff after that. He did like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Now this is
I was
after.
gonna say most people think of. I thought the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was last.
No, I think Forrester was after that. I think Forrester was his last official role. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So I was in high school when that came out.
I tried to watch the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen recently, and I couldn't last 20 minutes. So.
I like it. I actually like it.
Maybe I just have to get through to Act 2
Yeah.
I will say, like, I liked Tom Sawyer as a character, like my degrees in literature. So I was like, oh, what's he?
Well, it definitely has its flaws, but I don't know. It's just something I like about it. I don't know. I mean,
it's very charming.
Right, exactly. He always was.
I just found what the last movie was. It was actually an animated movie called Sir Billy.
Sir Billy.
Yep.
That did not get much press.
No, it was. They retitled it "Guardian of the Highlands." That's probably why.
That sounds like a cooler title. Something more fitting with Sean Connery.
It does.
Yeah, it was.
Was one of the ones, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So back to the topic of original characters.
Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. This is a live stream. We go where the conversation takes us. Let's have a look.
That's the stream part of it.
Actually, hold on a second. Actually, Finding the Forrester was in 2000. The Extraordinary Gentleman was in 2003. So I stand corrected. All right.
I remember, like, when I'm bored in a movie, I usually watch them on my iPad, and I like all the little X-ray things that Amazon has added when you watch it on Prime. So that's why I was like, I'm pretty sure it was that. But, you know, I've never heard of the animated movie, so that Theo found.
Let's see. He did voice Freedom History of U.S. Did voice for the game From Russia with Love. Modern Greek CP narrator and narrator for our voice for Sir Billy. So I stayed corrected. All right. I thought that was his last role. I guess not.
That's all right. You know, how dare you make a mistake?
How dare you?
I forgive you.
Take away my Sean Connery fanboy. You can take away my Sean Connery fanboy card. You know.
I grew up with it with my grandpa. He was the first movie I ever saw of Sean Connery was the First Night. That was the one that my mom got me started on, and then my grandpa got me heavily invested in Indiana Jones with the last. I think it was the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade.
Oh,
yeah.
That one in particular, and the whole Junior and all that.
That's the last one that I will ever acknowledge.
Yep.
Last Crusade is. I mean, I saw somebody saying that Harrison Ford and John Connery had no chemistry, and I'm like, did you not read the script? Of course they had no chemistry. That was the whole point. They had no chemistry, but you know what? By the end,
they seemed perfectly they seemed like they were father and son. I mean, think about it, they're estranged. Like they really don't talk to each other. I've met so many kids who have never met their fathers and are forced to interact, or the other direction too. The ones who just don't talk to their dad often because of the lack of emotional connection. It just happens.
There's actually
these, like raw moments between them, like when he slapped him in the cheek and said, "That's for blasphemy," you know, and it's just like it was just this electric moment, and then and it's just like and it's like Harrison Ford it's like there's a change in them at that point where Harrison was like finally like respecting him as his father, and it's like a entire shift at that moment. It's just like brilliant filmmaking.
Yeah, but actual character development.
You mean the characters develop? You mean they change in the course of this? Oh, really?
Speaking of good characters, let's have a look at this here.
Okay.
Something on Fund My Comic.
Oh, there we go.
Introducing Discord, Atlanta's newest superhero, from award-winning author C.S. Johnson. With musical powers that enable him to hear the unique song of each individual's soul, Discord has spent the last decade honing his skills and training to take down his father's killer. But Discord isn't just fighting for justice. He's also using his powers to go after human traffickers and put an end to their heinous crimes. Get this 30-page full-color comic today.
That looks pretty awesome.
Pedro did a really good job on my animation for it.
Yeah, I thought that was
awesome.
Pedro. I thought that was a Pedro.
Yep.
So when it says that he hears other people's souls, how does that like apply to his crime fighting?
So one of the things, like, if you think of music as like a time marker, you can you associate some different songs with different memories. Yeah, and if you like give someone your full attention, you can kind of like see how it affects them. I was like kind of leaning into that angle on it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's only one at a time, but you can see how like the most important moments in your life, whether you realize it or not, like have marked your soul, like music notes on a page.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But yeah, and it's kind of like I wanted to give him, like, honestly, so like after his dad dies, right, he's just very upset and you want blood, and it's not good to want blood so much as you want justice, but there are some things that like death can't get you and justice can't get you, and time won't give you. So like his gift is kind of a way of putting you above judge, jury, and executioner to judge, jury, and empathizer. So I don't agree. I don't think it's wrong to sympathize with the devil, but I do think it's wrong to use that as an excuse to not, carry out justice. Does that make sense?
Right.
So,
okay, I got you.
Yeah. So, yep. I'm pleased I got the sketches for book 2, and I'm working on the 3 to 5 issues together. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So.
It's a great message.
An original character, and I probably actually should have tried to get into Dragon Con now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
No.
But it's hard not having a book in hand to go to these cons,
Yeah.
Because what product are you actually? I mean, I thought of that. I thought of going to cons and pointing people to my comic. But the thought occurred to me. I was like, I don't have anything in hand to give anybody.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Unless I have something to like actually give people,
Yeah.
I'm working with the printer to get. I've gone through like 3 proofs, and I found like small, tiny things where it's like, oh, I need to fix this, or oh, the spacing went wonky here, So I should have the physical book soon, probably this week. But I was looking at it more like, oh, since it's Atlanta superhero, because we have a terrible problem with it. I mean, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is busy, and it's like the most busy airport in America, like statistically, I guess. And there is a lot of concern for it.
Atlanta obviously has a little bit of corruption going on.
Yes, it does.
A little bit.
I will say our Summer of Love wasn't as bad as it was probably in like Chicago or some other areas, but
right.
There's just a lot of anger, and I think it's really hard to channel that. I will say, like, the other thing I love about Steven, like, that's the day-to-day persona, the superhero. I really love that he wants to be a child psychologist, so he's going to school part-time for that, and that's because he wants to help kids through their trauma and dealing with what he had. And I think that's a good real-life application of it. I think that's probably one of my bigger criticisms of things like superhero movies. It's like, how does this work in your everyday life? There's not a lot of good superheroes, I think, that have that good work-life balance.
Yeah.
No, right. Not at all.
No. Well, I mean, it seems like I've forgotten that, Peter Parker, the whole taking pictures for the newspaper that hates his guts. It's kind of lost something like that.
Yes, I mean,
or Daredevil, like being a lawyer for people that eventually he's gonna have to beat up.
Well, I mean, it's a safe space too, though, for its day-to-day job. Like,
right.
You're fact checker for some social media company.
Prevents the misinformation.
I think, well, I mean, like people's jobs, I think, tell you a lot about what kind of person they are. Like, it doesn't really matter what race so much as like, what do you do with your time? You know?
Right.
Like, oh, so I write stories and I'm a mom. So, you know, I don't have a lot of time to deal with hysterics and dramatics and stuff.
Right.
Well, it's like the moment my book changes is when my guy quits his job. You know, the job that's kind of like he's been doing instead of being a hero, you know, all these years, you know, thinking that this is the only way he can contribute to America's, you know, protection. And then he finds out they've been handling him the whole time, and that this is basically someplace they shuffled him off to cancel him. You know, while they're erasing him from history, you know, they're just putting him over here for safekeeping, basically. And so when he discovers that, he quits in a very spectacular way, you know. You know, the little pipsqueak that basically told him that, you know, you're just a dinosaur. I'm here babysitting, man. You know, I don't even move your assessments up the chain. You know, we do it all by computers now. And so he goes, gets his, writes a resignation, goes in there, puts it in the guy's pocket, and takes his one arm and lifts him up, puts him up against the wall. And he says, next time your computer's doing assessment, do one on me. You'll find it informative. Puts him down and he walks out. You know, it's like the guy forgot who this is. You know, that he's mouthing off to a superhero. You know.
Yep.
Let's have a look at that one.
Okay. There we go.
Since we're on the topic.
Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet? Has to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it already. As for me, give me liberty or give me death.
I like the reveal.
That's a great trailer.
Yeah, thank you.
That is honestly great, and the voiceover work is pretty good too.
Yeah, that's actually Orson Welles.
You got Orson Welles, man?
Yeah. I caught him over the Ouija board. Yeah.
Impressive. I never noticed this before, but you could see the bone structure in that arm. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's called the glass arm. It's when it was when he was hit with the crystallizing ray, the surrounding soft tissue crystallized at a different rate, a different density than the bone inside, and so the bone literally has a different density than the crystal surrounding, and the whole thing's like the hardest substance on that planet or in that world. So they call it the glass arm, but there's really, you know, it's unbreakable. Yeah, it's
pretty cool. I like that concept.
Really,
it's really cool. And you know, the bone lights up first, and then it kind of like the arm follows. You know, so it's actually it's a really cool effect. Most of my artists curse me for doing it, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Usually that's the way I like evaluate my artist. It's like he has this thing. How are you going to handle it? You know.
See how they rise to the challenge.
I like I like how the animation on it, on the
Mhm.
the way the character is drawn, it looks like something you would see in a cartoon. It honestly, like an actual animated series, I can picture that. It looked really good.
Well, Faded
Yeah.
Glory did the animation for me. A guy by the name of Fresher Luke, and you know, I'm still paying for it, but you know, just for that much animation, you know, cost a pretty penny. But
Yeah.
I can understand why. I'm working on some 2D animation myself, so it is a ridiculous amount of time. I mean, each frame, and then for me, I'm doing on a tiny little 11-inch tablet. It's the smallest little tablet, and it's a Samsung one, and it's not all that slow or anything. It's just
Right.
I have big hands, and
yeah.
You don't have tiny, nimble elf fingers?
Nope. It's like,
Maybe it would be easier if you put the tacos down.
There, there you go. There you go. You know, maybe.
How dare you?
there's no such thing as too many tacos.
No. Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
It's okay. I live up to my white woman stereotypes, especially around pumpkin spice season. So
Pumpkin spice.
no,
All
I got
white
two
women
already under
in
my belt.
pumpkin spice season.
It's like John
the way-
A. Douglas talk about his wife. Is like, when you know your wife's about to pull out all the pumpkin spice. I say, yeah, but your wife's hot, John, so you know you're just going to go along with it. He's like, shut up.
I approve of the comeback. For what it's worth, though, like I don't get pumpkin spice. I get pumpkin chai. It's better. It's like pumpkin pie in a cup. I like pumpkin pie. It's the only pie I actually like. So
there you go.
Sounds delightful.
I prefer peppermint mocha.
I like
Peppermint is also
mocha.
underrated. I would have peppermint all year round if I could.
I'm drinking that right now, actually, but in a G Fuel cup.
Smart man.
There you go. There you go.
But it's a cold one. Right now, it's ridiculously hot here in Texas. It's just,
I bet.
ooh, I went outside expecting fall weather. I just go, oh.
I'm gonna try not to rub it in what's like in Colorado right now.
Yeah, but in a couple of months, we're
Enough,
going to be
RJ.
rubbing it in on you. So there you go.
Yeah, it'll be cold. Try to go skiing.
There you go. So how was your camping, man?
Oh, it's so beautiful, man. I wish I had pictures just to show. Yeah, I was up in the Rockies. Went by, we camped by, we did tent camping by a river, and then went hiking along the river. We saw otters, and then we saw this huge beaver dam. It's really impressive. Like, beavers are just land developers. Like, like we're just gonna build this huge dam. They're like engineers, you know. And then across that huge pond that's going to get created from this dam we build, we're going to build our house, and we'll just fish off the dock, and that's how we're going to live our lives. And it's really impressive to see. And then we saw a moose actually on the opposite side of the river.
Those things are huge.
They are. It's really cool when you get to see one up close. Pretty rare.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of wildlife, it was really cool.
I remember watching Northern Exposure, and that thing's like walking through town. And it's like it's the size of a horse. It's like, holy crap, that's huge.
Yeah. Elk are huge. Moose are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm told they're good eating, but I don't know. That's secondhand.
I don't know if I've eaten elk before or moose.
Elk is okay. It's just a little gamey at times, but
yeah,
it's okay. My uncle brought some. Well, not really uncle, more like a cousin. He was old enough to be an uncle, but he brought some over, and I helped him, tear it apart and all that. And slow roast. I was like 11, but it's pretty good.
That sounds great.
There you go.
A little disturbing whenever you're running around with a leg, but as a little kid.
Shank. Yeah.
You guys ever go to Disneyland to get those turkey legs? I don't know if Disney World would have them.
I haven't been to Disneyland. I never saw a reason to go.
Oh man, I grew up not far from there, and my first job was there. But yeah, you get the turkey legs there. That thing is a weapon. That is a shank for sure.
There you go.
It was like a comical, like turkey legs are huge, as you know. Like once you get to the bone, it's just this huge shank. I'm a little surprised they allow it in the park, considering they search you at the gate now.
Well, are you sure they still allow it? I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
they have changed. They've gone
quite
through
a while.
so many changes. I don't know.
It's like by now they're all vegan.
Company my money anymore.
Yeah, it's probably everything's vegan now. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah,
soy, a bunch of soy.
I remember growing up and Disney was like it represented like family values and
oh yeah, Walt is just rolling his grave.
Yeah, we watched
Frozen.
Disney World, Disney Presents, Walt Disney Presents on Sunday nights. We watched it religiously, and to see where that company has gone and just how anti-family they are now. It's just
Walt was a Christian and he was an avid anti-communist.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
his company has really gotten away from him.
Oh man.
Well, it's all Abigail Disney. All of it's Abigail Disney.
I don't know.
Every last bit of it. I mean, what you see, the agenda that comes from her. You know?
I feel like they've become a victim of their own employees because they drew in a certain crowd and they got promoted. And like Iger was the CEO when I was there. Iger is not. Yeah. He's just a businessman, you know. But I think they have so many people on the creative side now who follow that agenda and want to push it.
Well, somebody was saying like Disney Junior, don't let your kids anywhere near that stuff. And I watched like an assessment of their channel and some of the messages that they're giving little kids, little tiny kids.
That's terrible.
And
I used to work in
the world.
When I worked in a children's hospital, that was on a lot. I'm like, this is filth.
Yeah,
it's terrible. I'm just so out of that company.
It really is. I tried watching just to see whenever my little sister was much younger. Whenever I was trying to make sure that whatever she watched was good for her, she was watching things that just I had to quickly monitor. My mother was the one who supported us growing up, and when it came to, it was like around 2015 that they really started hammering in these cartoons that were not really good for kids, and it was sad because my sister basically got to grow up with nothing. So what I did was I made massive playlists of old shows that I grew up with. You know, you got Static Shock, you have the Justice League, you have VeggieTales, you have, like, I gave her every single thing that I could possibly imagine. I had them all on DVD, so I was like, perfect. Created a playlist so she could have the features of a modern interface, and
that's brilliant.
And it was what she was enamored with, everything from my childhood. And now she's into 2D animation herself now, and she's going to be joining me soon whenever she turns 18. She wants to join. Actually, she said she'd volunteer at 16. But she's got some Disney level, like old timey Disney stuff. That's her style. She loves the stuff like back when, I'd say, the Hercules and all the old Disney, the really good, the Renaissance of Disney. That's where her style is. But she loves animals, and right now she's planning on adapting my children's book, one that I haven't published yet. I even wrote her a children's book. It was called The Defenders of Home Tree, and that book.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That's what we talked about. Yeah,
I'm thinking of publishing it probably this October, just because it's a fun, lighthearted story, and I'm working on the illustrations, and my sister is also helping me a little bit. She wants to be included in the whole process because it really was her story. I wrote it for her, so it was, and she's told me before that she and it was probably this, for me, it was kind of a sad thing, but she told me that she basically saw me as her father figure growing up. And I thought it was sad because, but also kind of glad, because I'm glad I stuck around because of that very reason. And I helped my mom out, and I helped my grandmother with her, and because my grandpa left me the house, the family home. So I let my mother and my grandmother, I basically watch over everybody. And it's kind of become this strange environment now, but I'm kind of glad I'm single because of that very reason. I wouldn't have time to take care of my sister and help everyone here. It would have been too difficult to have relationships at this point. But that book, who knows? I'll probably publish it this October. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, heaven knows that we need more we need more non-woke content. I mean, you know what? There's a phenomenon that I call cultural locusts. Okay, that wherever the culture power is where these people flock to. And at one point, the cultural power when Harry Potter was huge was in YA fiction, and so they flocked to that. Completely ran it into the ground. I wouldn't. I mean, YA stuff, the typical stuff that's on the shelf right now is filthy and nasty and full of demonic shit, you know. And that's it's a huge section of the bookstore, okay. But they flocked to that and they ran that into the ground, and then they ran over to gaming and they ran that into the ground, and then they went over to comics and ran that into the ground. It's like wherever the cultural power is where they flock to, and and shove messaging in everywhere until that flounders, and then they'll go to something next. They went to tabletop RPGs next, and now they're attempting to try to crack manga and anime. And they can't get into Japan, so they're doing it to the stuff that's coming into that's being translated to America. You know, they're getting into the translation and getting into voiceover, and so even though the stuff isn't got those messages in Japan, they're changing it as it comes to the United States, and they're changing the messages, and it's like everywhere they go, they just despoil it, they strip it bare, and then they just leave it behind a shell of itself, you know. After the numbers tank, they go to the next thing, and
they've done that with Marvel by now.
Oh yeah, Marvel stripped clean. There's nothing left.
Star Wars, indie.
Yeah, Star Wars and everything. Indie. Yeah, all the Disney stuff is gone. You know, at this point, I mean, it's everything. The only hope is just reboot everything. I mean, when you got Star Wars and somebody can get stabbed with a lightsaber and survive and be okay terrible. The very next show.
It's a joke, because I mean, my brother and I actually joked about this. We were saying we used to joke about it all the time, saying if you get stabbed with a lightsaber, don't you just get cauterized wounds? It just like immediately, or you cut someone in half, and then it refuses it fuses the body back together. I said, well, he had the most painful dumps in the world because of that. Like,
that sounds like a prank. A Jedi would do that, so they don't have to kill you; they just humiliate you.
Yep. It just seemed off, and then suddenly they turned this joke into an actual thing that is supposed to be dramatic. I'm like, no, it's
Well, it totally discounts what happened to Mace Windu, and that was a dramatic moment.
Yep.
You mean Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah.
Or sorry, Qui-Gon Jinn's what I meant to say. Yeah.
I better see Qui-Gon Jinn return. I mean, I swear he better return. His body should be just fine.
I'm serious.
Right, he should be okay.
I'm serious. He should be fine. He got the exact same injury that chick did.
Yep.
So what's the difference?
Qui-Gon Jinn just had a Force vision where he saw Anakin's future. He's like, okay, I don't want to deal with him. Chose death. Okay.
I'm just gonna stay right here.
Death.
I choose death. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's when you see what a layup Star Wars was. I mean, it was a vibrant community who loved everything Star Wars. The books came out; they were all bestsellers. The cartoons were all like, had great ratings and things like that. Everything Star Wars came out, and this one woman with an axe to grind ran it all into the ground, all of it. And she's being praised for it. She will retire praised. She will probably win awards when she retires, and people will laud her forever. And she has completely, totally destroyed the greatest IP, the greatest financially viable IP that probably culture's ever known. And she ran it right into the ground.
I mean, it's fitting that it's such a crime that they created something like this. It's such a massive crime, and fitting for the name like Dave Filoni to be in charge of that sort of thing.
Felonious.
Felony.
Felonious.
Yeah.
Oh man. I always tell my brother that, and that's exactly what he rolls his eyes at me sometimes. He used to love like the newer things for a time, and then suddenly he starts seeing he saw he returned to the older ones, and it was like, what the heck? Like, how could I even think that these are any good? It's like, then you have, I mean, the first 2 seasons of like The Mandalorian, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
3rd season, a few episodes here and there, mostly just small throwaway episodes. It's like, oh, Ravensloft, hey Ravensloft.
Welcome,
What's up, man?
Raven.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last gasp that we'll ever see of Star Wars was the finale of the 2nd season, and it had its flaws, but to see that, see Luke Skywalker be the Jedi Knight we always knew he was heading towards, that's the Jedi Knight we expected. And to see him just absolutely kick butt and take no names and
it was
be
perfect,
be this serene, aware of himself, kind of like be completely totally the man that we expected. And I saw people weep when they reacted to that.
I did too. I rarely cry, and that was one of those things that even my brother cried. Like, we both were just looking at each other like anime cry. It was just Snoopy cry, really.
Well, the funny thing about it is you knew as soon as you saw that X-wing, because people were like, "It's an X-wing! That's an X-wing!" It's like that can't be, and people were just trying to talk themselves out of it. And it's like, wait! What color is the lightsaber? What color is the lightsaber? I expected that bait and switch, but then he saw the green lightsaber, and it's like it just people were just like, "Oh, it's him! It's him!" And even before the hood came back, it was you were on it, and I just knew. I was like, "There's no way Kathleen Kennedy is going to let this happen. She's not going to let this happen." And sure enough, Book of Boba Fett, they erased everything. They erased everything that happened in that episode.
Yeah, it was kind of weird actually, because it seemed like it seemed almost as though she had no idea what they were doing in the Mandalorian. Like, she had no clue what was happening, and then they also had no clue that they were supposed to consult her about these things. And then I'm like, because it makes sense. Why would you have to consult her? She's a business runner. She's not doing anything. She's supposed to get the money. That's it. Get the money, move it to the side, and basically talk with the accountants and get the books balanced, and that's it. And make sure these shows are greenlit or not greenlit. Like, pay attention to the rating, don't pay attention to the story. But she, for some reason, would just shoehorn herself into the plot and try to make it this weird forces female nonsense, and then make the men these pathetic shells of human beings. Like, unless she really hates men, I mean, that's all I can think of. Like, she must
Season 3 of Mando, what does she do? She makes Bo-Katan Mando.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that was deliberate. I mean, she erased and destroyed everything that finale created. I mean, there's people like, "Oh my God, we finally got what we've always wanted. Oh my God, they listened to the fans, because Dave, Favreau is an actual Star Wars fan." And it's like, you saw that and you're like, okay, this was made by somebody who actually likes Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then they erased everything. The moment I saw that, I was like, there's no way this stands. There's no way this stands.
Yeah.
Before
it was
they
the
were
saddest
transing
moment.
the kids, they were transing the Force.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear that?
They trans the Force. That's good.
Did you hear that
Well, actually, I
Wikipedia
saw that meme the other day that said Chuck Norris was in Star Wars, and I looked at it and it was called The Force.
That's pretty good.
It's like, oh, this was made before this era.
Right.
Did you see that
It's an older
Wikipedia put the pronouns of all the Star Wars characters on their page?
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
I refer to it as Wikipedia now.
On some level, the English teacher in me, I taught English for a few years, and the English teacher in me is just glad people are reading. So people know what pronouns are. So
right.
Do you know the other 7 parts of speech to go with it?
No.
What killed me though is when Kathleen Kennedy, I saw this interview where she's like, well, when I came in, there was no lore, there was nothing to draw from, and the first thing she did was throw out the EU. And what are they doing now? They're bringing back EU concepts. They're bringing back, Heir to the Empire concept.
But also mutilating it though at the same time.
But yeah, mutilating it beyond all recognition. But
and back to the family thing. What made the original trilogy in the EU so great is about family.
It was.
They got away from that, and it kind of lost its appeal.
Should have brought in Vin Diesel to help.
Well, they did the same thing with Terminator.
Yeah, File 13 was talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that comment.
They did the same thing with Terminator because they killed John Connor, right? And or the Terminator guy, and they killed him, and then it made it about this other girl instead, and it's like it is just her. And
I didn't expect people would be okay with that. People that grew up with this series grew up with this universe, and then it's like, well, we're just gonna throw off this protagonist that's been from the beginning, and we're just gonna like, oh, it's this one now. Yeah, this is the better one, right? And and people were just like, no.
Well, I mean, like that probably had like even if you made it work, you could have made it work from a different perspective of where she becomes
right.
Like you could have had the rise of Skynet, and like she'd be the person pushing it. Like tell it from the villain's perspective here, okay?
That would be cool.
Like, see, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But no, we can't have women be villains. So that was part of the reason that I laughed. Like all.
We can't have them even be flawed. We can't even have them be flawed.
That's heresy.
I mean, you look at Sigourney Weaver. Is like in Aliens, okay, the second movie, and you see her, go from like saying nuke it from orbit. That's the only way to be sure. Just kill everybody, kill everything down there. Wipe it off the planet. To going down in the bowels of that place to rescue a little girl. And it's all within the course of the movie. So you see this she's scarred. She's mentally got PTSD. She's like, she's scorched the earth. But then there at the end, she's like, she found that part of her, so that maternal thing. And she went and rescued Newt and took on the queen herself. And who didn't get goosebumps when that thing the doors opened up? But she's like, "Get away from her, you bitch!" I mean, there was. I was in the theater and there was like cheers. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" And it was and the battle was like she was like losing that battle at one point. You're like, "Oh my god!" She could lose. But the vulnerability of it, right? And now we got chicks that can walk into a lightsaber and walk away.
Yeah, we really went full circle. But yeah, family's central to good storytelling.
See, now that I will say, like, I have a book, and it's probably one of my lower rated books because it's kind of depressing, but it's about, like, it's my ADIS books. And in the first, like, prequel, like, I have an anti-hero, or like basically a guy who's not really hero material, and he's going on his heroic quest, and sometimes the bad guy wins. That's all I'm gonna say. And I know people don't like that, but it's like, true. And I think that's what, like I said, if they had done something different with Terminator, I mean, even if they threw out the EU, and I like a lot of the EU, I don't like all of it. But like, even if they did something where like Leia's trying to restore the Republic and juggling this with her marriage, and Ben is under Luke's tutelage, and she wants Luke to help her with so much, but Luke recognizes that dealing with the government got him in the Jedi into this fix in the first place, and and they go out and they have this almost like civil war within their family, and try to move the reconciliation process through it. I think it would have been a much better sort of storyline so much of like the crap that they pour out today is so political because it's like Nazism and stuff. And I get that they were like space Nazis and stuff, but like you have other problems that you can focus on. I think people rely too much on Nazis in their literature because it's a problem that World War II kind of started the downfall of them, and that problem, even if it's not solved entirely today, it's mostly been minimalized to the point where it's not a real big problem. It's a problem, but it's not a real big one.
I think Captain America handled it well with Hydra becoming like infiltrating Shield.
Yeah.
Because it takes a look in the mirror and says, "Oh, a lot of time has passed, and maybe we're the baddies."
Right.
Well, or we've become something recognizable to our origins.
There's this wonderful moment in that movie, Winter Soldier, where he's actually cheerful, and Scarlett Johansson's like, her whole world has ended. Her whole world's been shielded, and she finds out that it's all been a lie, and she's like losing it, right? And he seems to be chipper and seems to be okay, and she's like, "Why are you okay with this?" And he's like, "Because I finally know what I'm fighting." Because before his spidey sense was going off, and he's like, "There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here," and he knew that deep down, he knew there was something wrong with what he was looking at, but he was like, felt duty to protect the country, and this is the place where he could protect the country. But then he finds out, okay, you're not crazy, you're not being gaslit. This organization really is wrong. And then it's like, okay, I know what's right, I know what's wrong, I know who the enemy is. And I think at that clarity, that moment of clarity, he was like totally okay. He's okay to take on an enemy, even if it's overwhelming, even if he's at a disadvantage, as long as he knows who the enemy is.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps.
There's just no creativity though. It's like, let's do
there
the
is
same thing.
None.
Let's do the same thing we did 40 years ago, only with a woman.
I mean, look at the Force Awakens, Star Wars Force Awakens. They had that same issue. That was the main thing everyone complained about, to the point where people don't even talk about that movie anymore. And it's kind of funny because out of the three, it was easily the best one out of the three of the sequel trilogy. Easily. Only because of the fact that they actually had a plot, and it actually had a progression and a build-up. And granted, the build-up was, I assumed, Finn becomes a Jedi. It didn't happen, so I was kind of
and plus nobody can nobody can ignore the fact it's basically A New Hope.
That movie to me was very uninspired in the same way that the Jaden Smith Karate Kid was, because it's just a beat for beat regurgitation of what it's based on. So
a kid with no acting ability or charisma.
He's not quite as
they
bad.
had good effects, and I do think the acting was good for Force Awakens and stuff. But the story was terrible. I mean, terrible writing will kill any story.
Especially when it's literally copy paste. I mean, you can't do anything about that. It's like, if all you have to do is not do that, write an actual story, create subtext, and create an actual something that happened, that what made it to where, like, if I could be okay with the whole Luke being a hermit thing if there's a reason for it, aside from just and their reason for it was it cannot suck. Their reason for it made no sense. It had no rationale to it. Now, had it been an accident, something like an actual Sith Lord showed up and killed everyone instead of just his nephew going berserk out of some misplaced rage. It made no sense. He was psychotic. It was
note to self: don't have a narcissistic sociopath with nihilistic tendencies direct your second movie in a trilogy.
You can't have a nihilist directing a movie that's about good versus evil. That's a big misstep there. We are
it's not a good idea.
We're kind of short on time. Wow. Because speaking of family, I got one to get to. I got a real cookout to do. I got to grill up some meat.
That's okay.
But it's been great talking to you guys.
Really was.
Thanks for coming again, as always. I look forward to doing this again.
Always.
Yep.
Just allow your family, get outside and touch grass, write original characters. I know you will.
I already got them.
Next time I come back, I'm gonna bring some previews of my new comic book series.
Definitely. I look forward to it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I like your
love to see it. Love to see it.
Those
I'll probably have some new art I can show too.
Yeah, let's all do that.
I'll get my oohs and ahs prepared.
I do like the new fat girl avatar. It's
Yes,
I like the superhero
my-
landing as a fat
Well,
girl.
I have a friend, Spencer Baculi. He actually writes for Bounding, and he started drawing Fat Girl for me. So I was like,
oh, that's
you
great.
wanna just go ahead and draw more? Here you go.
We should have him on sometime.
I don't know if he'll come on, but I'll see if he'll come.
Let's pull some
I don't think
strings.
I've ever talked to him face to face, so it should be interesting if I manage to get him here.
Okay.
We usually just
All
tweet
right.
at each other.
All right.
Thank you, guys. You have a great
yeah.
night.
See y'all next time.
Yep.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. God
Bye,
bless.
everybody.
God bless.
Amen to that.
Even the appetizing process of broiling the hamburgers is fun and promotes friendship and good fellowship.